we are going to be going over your first essay assignment. So, there we go. So if you go to this week's module, then click on the student packet summary and response essay. This document here is going to pull up for you. So I'm just going to make it a little bit larger, zoom in a bit, and we'll go over all of the expectations for this first essay so you know exactly what you need to do. So first of all, on all of my essay packets, I give you guys a couple of fun memes to work with just because, memes can help ease the pain of essay writing. So those are there for your enjoyment. I love this little doggo. So cute. Okay. The next thing that we're going to go over is the prompt for the essay, and this is just the directions so that you know what your goals are for the essay. So this first essay, you have two goals. The first one is summary. So you'll be summarizing two readings that we have read so far. And then you're also going to be responding. So you're summarizing Shitty First Drafts by Anne Lamott. And then you're also going to be summarizing Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. Each of those needs to be just one paragraph in your essay. And you need to follow the guidelines that I've given you about how to summarize and what we should be including in a summary. And that's a separate lecture. So make sure that you check out that lecture as well before you start writing. So those are the first two paragraphs that you need to include in the essay after your introduction. And then the rest of your essay is your response. And what your response is a descriptive sort of narrative of an important moment in your life. So in Shitty First Drafts and also in Me Talk Pretty One Day, the authors talk about important moments in their lives. So for Lamont, that means, she takes us through how she gets through the difficult task of writing a draft, right? And she really describes her feelings and what she does, and it sort of helps us feel that maybe anxiety and stress that she has when she's writing her first drafts. And then for Sedaris, he describes his experience in a really awful classroom, right? He's learning French and his teacher is just horrible. And he tells us all about that experience and really gives us glimpses into kind of the terror and also anxiety that those poor students faced when they were dealing with that teacher, right? But at the end, he is able to overcome and he learns enough French that it starts to make sense and he keeps going with it. So each of them describe a really important moment in their life using lots of descriptive details and sort of making us feel like we're there with them in that moment. So when you're responding to both of these, your response is actually going to be taking us through a moment in your life that was meaningful for you. Now, these moments can be happy moments, they can be sad moments, it can be something educational. I have lots of students who write about things like graduations, wedding day, maybe the day that you brought home your first child if you have children. It could be like a birthday party, anything that was a significant moment in your life. One important thing that you need to remember is that the moment that you're focusing on needs to be something that happened over a short period of time. So think minutes or hours and nothing more than one day. So 24 hours or less for that moment. And your goal here is to kind of slow things down and help us feel like we're going through that experience with you. So we're going to be practicing using descriptive, vivid language to help your readers sort of go through that moment with you. For examples of those kinds of descriptive details, you can look at both the Lamott text and the Sedaris text. Those are great examples. And I also have a sample student essay at the end of this packet that you can check out because that does a great job of using very vivid language to help us feel like we're there with that student. Okay, So that brings us to the basic requirements. So the first thing that you're going to turn in, the first major thing, is a first draft. Your draft needs to be 3 pages, and then your revised final draft needs to be 5 pages. Schedule of classes will have due dates for those. Your rough draft is worth 25 points. Remember that if you turn it in on time and you turn in 3 pages, you automatically get those 25 points. And then I will give you some written feedback on your draft. I do read through each of them individually and give you specific feedback that's just for you. So make sure that you take those comments and consider them when you're revising. And then you turn in the final draft, which is worth 100 points. Your goals here are to demonstrate effective summary. When you're summarizing the Lamott and Sedaris pieces, remember that each of those needs to be 1 paragraph. And then you also need to demonstrate your ability to write descriptively and enter a conversation, meaning that you are joining this conversation about important moments in our lives, right? So that's what that means. So you're doing that by describing that significant moment of your own using those vivid details. Remember that this does need to have fully formed paragraphs. Each of them should have a clear purpose and those relevant details. Make sure your essay is in MLA format with 12-point font, double spacing, and the 1-inch margins. So that brings us to the rubric. Remember that for your rough draft, I do give you an A for effort. You automatically get full credit just for turning in the draft on time and having the page length that is needed. And then when you turn in the final draft, what I use to grade it is this rubric. So it's not just me saying, hey, this looks like an A or this feels like a B. Instead, I give you a specific number of points for each category. And so that way it helps, I feel, it helps you understand why you got the score that you did. And it also helps you understand which of these sections are kind of the big ticket items that you really need to pay attention to. So each of these categories has a certain number of points possible. And then when I grade your essay, I'll assign you however many points you've earned in that particular category. I'll add up all of those categories, and that's how you get your score for the essay. So the first category is basic requirements, and that just means that your essay is in MLA format. You meet the page length requirement, and you have a clear main idea, and there are 10 points available there. The next section is the summary section. This is where you get up to 30 points, and that's going to be earned by effectively summarizing both Lamott and Sedaris' text and doing that in just 1 paragraph for each text. So there's 30 points available there. The next section is your sort of response portion, right? So you should be telling a story about an important experience in your life that happened over 1 day or less. And we should be able to clearly follow the sequence of events in that story. And so that section is worth 30 points. You have another 20 points up for grabs here, and that's for using vivid examples in each paragraph. So this is where you're going to get points for using that descriptive language and helping us feel like we're experiencing that with you. And then the last section here has to do with grammar and sentence level issues. You have 10 points available there if your essay has little to no grammar issues. So that brings us to a total of 100 points possible. So this is the rubric that I'll be using. If you have any questions about that or anything else, feel free to get a hold of me either on Remind or via email. Okay, so the next thing that you're seeing, and the formatting is a bit off, this should be down here. The next thing that you're seeing is that sample student essay that I spoke about. So for every essay that we write, you will always have a sample student essay. That is something that a previous student has turned in and that I give to you so that you can see sort of what you're shooting for here. For this one, it's also marked up, so you'll see that things are highlighted in different colors. That is to help you understand why this student got the grade that he or she did. This is a fake name. All of these are anonymous. So that you can see why this person scored what they did in each category on the rubric. So I'm going to scroll down to the rubric so that you can see what these different colors mean. So this is the grading rubric for the sample essay. You can see that the basic requirements section is going to be highlighted in this pinkish red color. So anytime that the student is demonstrating, a MLA format, meeting the page length, and having a clear main idea, I've highlighted that in this red color so that you can see why I assigned the grade that I did there. Same thing for the next category, which is the effective summaries. And so the parts that are in orange are going to be showing you what an effective summary looks like so that you can see why this person scored a full 30 points out of 30. After that, we have yellow highlighting, and that is for any time where you can see that they're telling a story about an important experience which happened over one day or less, and that it's clear and easy for us to follow. And so it looks like they got most of the credit there, 28 out of 30 points. Anything highlighted in green is going to be an example of those vivid details and vivid language that you guys are being asked to use in this essay. And you can see that they got 20 points out of the 20 there. And then lastly, the blue section, anything highlighted in blue, is an example of little to no grammatical or sentence level errors, and it looks like we've got an 8 there, so just a couple of small things. So when we add up all of this, you can see that this student scored 96 out of 100, so that's a 96%, which is an excellent job on a final draft. So remember that the sample student essay that you're seeing, this is a final draft, and this student worked really hard to get from the first draft, where it was just exploring ideas and getting started, to the final draft, which happened after, lots of work. The student went to the tutorial center. The student also did the workshops online. So, don't expect that your first draft is going to look anything like this, right? We're expecting shitty first drafts, and that's totally fine. But what you should do is look at this for, inspiration and examples so you can see what it looks like to have an effective summary here. Or you can see what it looks like in student writing to have some really vivid language in these sections. So I definitely recommend giving that a read through and looking at that sample student essay so that you can see what I'm looking for here. Okay, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have.